Premières Nations ont toujours compris la valeur de la communauté, l'importance du respect et la nécessité de protéger nos ressources pour les générations futures. Et actuellement, l'information est l'une de nos plus importantes ressources. Les membres des Premières Nations ont toujours collecté de l'information. Lorsque nous pistons et chassons, ou lorsque nous cueillons de la nourriture, nous collectons en fait de l'information qui a une incidence directe et importante sur nos vies. Les Premières Nations comprennent que l'information n'est pas qu'une affaire de chiffres. C'est la culture, l'identité, les traditions et l'autodétermination. C'est la raison pour laquelle le Centre de gouvernance de l'information des Premières Nations a été créé. Depuis 1996, sa mission est de défendre les valeurs des principes de PCAP, un ensemble de lignes directrices destinées à protéger la propriété et la juridiction des Premières Nations sur leurs informations et à assurer que les Premières Nations soient les gardiennes de cette information. Les principes de PCAP assurent que les Premières Nations aient la propriété des données, tant individuellement que collectivement, en tant que communauté. Cela leur permet d'avoir le contrôle, afin qu'elles puissent décider de comment, par qui et dans quelles conditions l'information est utilisée. Cela garantit qu'elles ont le droit de déterminer et de définir l'accès à l'information sans égard au lieu où elle est conservée. Et ils définissent la possession, garantissant ainsi que les Premières Nations aient le pouvoir d'utiliser leur information dans l'intérêt de leur communauté. La possession est la clé, qui rend la propriété, le contrôle et l'accès possible. Pris ensemble, les principes de PCAP des Premières Nations incarnent une idée importante. Les membres des Premières Nations comprennent leurs besoins et sont les mieux placés pour gérer leur information. Le droit des communautés des Premières Nations d'avoir la propriété, le contrôle, l'accès et la possession de l'information sur les leurs est étroitement lié à l'autodétermination et à la préservation et au développement de leur culture.
First Nations Information Governance Centre is a national body that supports First Nations from across Canada in advancing our interests around information and data management and governance.
Their job is essentially to assert First Nations ownership, control, access, and possession into the data collection and survey research which is being done in the country. I think their primary goal is to make sure that First Nations are directly involved in every aspect, and in fact they have taken the lead in a couple of major surveys in the country.
Basically, our mission is to support local and regional capacity for data and information collection, interpretation, analysis, and translating it into knowledge, and then making it available to leadership for good, sound decision-making, evidence-based decision-making.
For First Nations, this is important because it helps create a standard for their relationships that they have with researchers, and it creates an ethical space where they can facilitate the conversation around research and making sure that it's culturally appropriate and safe for the community to participate in.
Though OCAP is trademarked by the First Nations Information Governance Centre, it is owned by the First Nation communities, and it helps them and guides them in the work that they do in research.
OCAP helps First Nations to have self-determination because the information is theirs.
The First Nation themselves are in the position to determine how their information is utilized, accessed, gathered, and interpreted. I think that's one of the important elements about OCAP is that First Nations have control of their information. They need to be part of the interpretation of that information as well.
It's important that they have the final say because ultimately this information is about them.
Achieving recognition of our sovereignty and exercising our sovereignty is essentially the fundamental goal, and the purpose for exercising that, achieving that recognition and exercising that sovereignty is really to improve the quality of life of our people and to return to the balance in the government-to-government relationship.
We've got to have the ability to measure our well-being in terms that make sense to us, and we actually want that well-being described in positive terms. The RHS, or the Regional Health Survey, was an attempt by the federal government to actually gauge the well-being of First Nations across Canada. Being that we are a very diverse population and of huge geography, it's really challenging from an Ottawa perspective to actually measure what's going on in the communities.
First Nations people understand that we're living in an evidence-based world, and in order to affect positive policy change for our communities, we need to have that credible data that we can quote and refer back to in order to gauge where we're going to go to next in the future.
First Nations people need to be the stewards of their own information because we know best what is the best processes for us, and we can manage our own information.
That information is crucial for us to also do our research. If we don't, then we don't have accurate information. You can't plan for a cohesive, healthy future.
Governance matters. Being able to actually define where you want to go and how you're going to get there is key. Being informed along the way is a very important aspect of that. The destination and the journey, two parts of it. The roadmap is what's going to get you there. And good information, good data management is actually the roadmap to the future.